The Toronto Blue Jays were literally a few outs away from a World Series ring last season. A few outs. And if you watch that series closely, you already know the bullpen was the difference. Not the rotation, not the offense. The bullpen. So here we are, sitting in the middle of February, and this front office still hasn't fully addressed it. Let's talk about it. Look, I'm not going to sit here and pretend the roster is a disaster. It's not. Tyler Rogers was a smart, low-key addition that raises the floor. Lewis Varland coming back is huge. Jeff Hoffman looks like he's going to get the closer job, and guys like Mason Fluharty and Braden Fisher showed real flashes last year. But flashes aren't guarantees, and when you're a team that just came that close to the promised land, you cannot be sitting here in spring training hoping for flashes. You need certainty. You need depth. You need arms that have done it before. So today, I'm looking at the free agent market. And yes, I know it's late February. I know the big names are gone, but there are still guys out there who could walk into Toronto and genuinely help this team. Let's get into it. Starting with Danny Coulombe, and honestly, it's not even a close conversation. He is the best available reliever still on the market right now, full stop. The lefty split his 2025 between the Twins and the Rangers, and the overall line was a 2.30 ERA with a 3.30 FIP. Now, people will point to his time in Texas and say he was a mess. And look, they're not wrong. He struggled out there. 5.25 ERA, a 1.667 whip, it was rough. But here's the thing you can't ignore, what he did with Minnesota. 40 outings, a 1.16 ERA, a 2.01 FIP. Opposing hitters were slashing. 188, 246.214 against him. That is dominance. That is the kind of performance that makes evaluators drool. 9 strikeouts per 9 innings, barely walking anyone. That version of Danny Coulombe would slot perfectly into the back of a Toronto bullpen that already has Lauer and Little and Fluharty on the left side. He's probably not getting a minor league deal at this point. He's earned more than that. But a short-term contract? A 1-year prove-it deal? That makes all the sense in the world. This is not a complicated evaluation. The Jays should be on the phone right now. Now let's talk about Tommy Kahnle, because this one is a little more nuanced. 11 years in the big leagues, 31 1/3 innings in the postseason. This is a guy who has been in the fire before, and the Jays should care about that. But I'm not going to pretend 2025 wasn't a rough year for him. Detroit was not kind to Kahnle. The K rate that used to sit comfortably above 9 strikeouts per 9 dropped all the way down to 7.1. He issued 31 walks. His ERA was 4.43, his FIP was worse. The command was genuinely bad, and hitters weren't biting on his stuff the way they used to. So why am I bringing him up? Because 1 year before that, he was throwing a 2.11 ERA across 50 outings with the Yankees. 1 year removed from that performance. And here's what really matters. Kahnle lives on the changeup. He threw it 85% of the time last season. 85%. The Blue Jays have built their pitching philosophy around pitch mix and weaponizing the changeup and the splitter. Pete Walker has turned careers around with that philosophy. If there's one organization that could unlock Tommy Kahnle again, it might genuinely be Toronto. Is there risk here? Absolutely. But on a short-term deal, a 1-year flyer, you're not betting the farm. You're giving a battle-tested bullpen arm a chance to find himself again in a system designed for exactly that kind of reclamation. You've seen it work before with this organization. This fits the mold perfectly. And then, there's the most intriguing name of all three, Michael Kopech. This is the one that gets me going a little bit, because Kopech is legitimately one of the most physically gifted arms in the game. The stuff is still there. The fastball still touches triple digits. The cutter is still a weapon. But his career has basically been defined by two things: injuries and the inability to throw strikes when it matters. The former White Sox top prospect made his way to the Dodgers in 2024, and early in the season, he was phenomenal. A 1.13 ERA over 24 outings, a 0.792 whip. He looked like he'd finally put it all together. Then the injury bug hit again in 2025. He only threw 11 innings, and in those 11 innings, he walked 13 batters. 13. In 11 innings. That's not a command issue. That's a command crisis. But here's where my mind goes. Kopech is 29 years old. The talent hasn't evaporated. He's still throwing 98, 99 miles per hour. There are teams every single spring that watch a guy like that in a bullpen session and think they can fix it, and usually they're wrong. But what if the Blue Jays give him a minor league deal and bring him to Dunedin this spring, and Pete Walker gets his hands on him for a few weeks? What if the delivery just needs some cleanup? What if the mental side of pitching in a more relaxed, non-roster environment gives him the runway to actually locate his fastball again? The risk on a MLB deal is almost nothing. The ceiling, if it works, is a high-leverage, triple-digit arm in the back of your bullpen come July. That's a bet I am absolutely taking. Here's the bottom line. The Jays have a real shot this season. The window is open. The core is intact. The rotation looks good. But bullpen depth wins and loses playoff races, and we watched that play out with our own eyes not that long ago. Coulombe gives you a proven lefty with elite numbers when healthy. Kahnle gives you a post-season tested veteran on a reclamation arc that fits this organization's philosophy. And Kopech gives you a pure lottery ticket with potential that hasn't been fully scratched yet. None of these moves cost you significant money or prospects. All three of them could be the guy who gets the final out of an inning in October that you desperately needed. That's not nothing. And as Jays fans, you know better than anyone, the margins are razor thin at the top of this league. You add every piece of quality depth you can, and you figure it out from there.